three South African mayors are part of a global initiative aimed at enhancing safeguarding measures in the transport sector. The Future in Public Transport campaign was launched yesterday and involves transport unions from around the world. Well, the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union Deputy General Secretary Anele Kit joins us now to talk about what it is they're asking for. Anele, good morning. Thanks so much for your time. You've joined in the call also from the mayors across three major parts of Gauteng, asking for a national government to come up with a reliable operational subsidy. What exactly is that meant to achieve?
Good morning to you and your listeners, and thanks for having me. As South African Transport and Allied Workers Union, we are calling for an affordable, reliable transport system that will be able to ferry our people and communities across the country. That is exactly what we are looking for. But not only that, but we are also saying that this transport system should be inclusive of business, government, and labor and communities. Because if we will leave public transport in the hands of the private sector alone, history have taught us that that is failing. As you might know, that our people are staying far from where they are working. As a result, they end up losing their jobs on the basis that they have to take 3 transports before reaching their place of work. The same thing happens in rural areas where there's no transport at all. And we are saying that that cannot be the case. We believe that before we address the integrated transport system, we have to deal with those challenges whereby our people, the less privileged, are the ones who are suffering the most.
Anele, help us sort of understand this. So in your mind, what is the picture you're seeing? For example, a morning in the life of a commuter. What type of transport? What is the plan? What is the system you're envisaging?
Look, all we want is that a worker, a person who comes from a community who's supposed to report for work must be able to be at work on time, and in so doing, that person must be safe. That's what is important to us.
So it comes down to safety, but one would probably have to wonder, where would our current sort of taxi transport system, where would the taxis fit into all of this, and what would be their involvement in coming up with this plan?
We have been calling to the Minister of Transport that the taxi industry must be regulated first. Secondly, it must also be subsidized like other transport systems like buses. Because the reason why you have all those taxi carnages on the road, it's simply because these taxi owners have to pay for their own installments of those taxis without any assistance from our government. Therefore, you will have reckless drivers who are rushing to have commuters so that they can meet daily targets. But if our government can regulate the taxi industry and also put it under subsidy, then it will ease the pressure from the owners so that even the drivers can be reliable on the roads.
So, like you say, some people and the poorest of the poor sometimes having to take 3 taxis to get to where they are, where they need to make a living. So are we looking at different modes of transport? You take a taxi that connects you. We look at a type of pass or a ticket that lets you take a bus and then a train. What exactly would be ideal?
If I can make an example to you, all the subsidized buses, they have routes. They get licenses for particular routes. If you take a bus in Mabopane and you are working right in the CBD of Pretoria, there's a bus that takes you from your township straight to where you are working, because that bus is subsidized for that particular route. So when we call for the taxis to be regulated, we are also looking at that so that taxis can stop going to Soweto instead of going right to Bramfontein, where a majority of our people are working from Soweto.
All right, Anele, not to sound sort of skeptical about this, but considering where we are in terms of transport, considering corruption in the country, do you think that we can pull this off? Do you think this is doable in South Africa?
Hence, we are saying it should be an inclusive system. whereby government, private people, meaning business, workers themselves, because they understand the industry, and communities where these people are coming from should be forming part in making sure that we achieve that. Because if we leave that in the hands of the private sector and government alone, everyone knows that that's where corruption happens. We are not saying these workers and communities must be involved without contributing. The very same workers have provident funds where their money are sitting. We are saying that we are prepared to go to our pension funds and request that we invest. For instance, now recently, PATCO had to retrench a large number of workers due to COVID-19 effects. Greyhound has to close down its business due to COVID-19 effects. But we are saying, because these workers belong to pension funds, let's take that money together with government, buy those companies, making sure that we save jobs, and then we make these workers to be responsible because their monies are invested there. If you go to the townships and in villages, you have stockfels that amounts to a lot of money. Those communities can invest that money in making sure that jobs are not lost in the country, and everyone takes part in making sure that there's safety, because everyone have a vested interest, because they've deployed their money into the system.
All right, and if I can ask you very quickly as a last question, you've made the call, you've joined the call, you're supporting the mayor's call as well. So what happens now? How do you follow this up and start the plan, I suppose?
We will work very closely, as we are a member of the International Transport Federation. We will work very closely with ITF in making sure that we continue to engage government. We continue to engage Ministry of Transport in making sure that we realize this particular goal that we have.
Right, thanks very much, Anil Kit, there, just for explaining to us how this might work and who needs to be involved. This is Today.